let's start from here. Smart tourism now is an ambient tourism. And how can you publish impactful research out of those things? And I think it's really important that our research needs to have impact. And when we're talking about impact, we're not talking about citations and impact in a scientific community, but impact primarily to society. How can we make a better society based on our research? A lot of the things I'm going to be saying today are coming out of the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing that I've spent a couple of years editing, and also Tourism Review. Now I'm on my 5th year as editor-in-chief of Tourism Review. And both of those outlets have actually benefited from that kind of direction, that everything we do needs to have relevance and everything we do needs to come forward to society. Now, when I put together the editorial statement for the encyclopedia, we kind of look into how can we aggregate all the knowledge from 1,250 entries from 1,500 people from around the world. And what we did is we look into how we can expand the tourism system, and to look into much more detail on the tourism system, and look into what resources are coming into the tourism system and what value is being co-created through the tourism system. And we said that tourism should make sure that we have got equitable returns for the resources utilized. So whatever resources we're using in terms of creating tourism and tourism value, we need to create equitable returns for those people who own those resources, and particularly the local population, because the local population needs to benefit from tourism. And in order to do that, we created the pyramid, and the pyramid is where the tourism system is sitting on. And the pyramid is looking to planning, management, and strategy, and all of the issues on the strategic management of tourism. It's looking to the market forces and what market forces are there and how do they support the tourism industry. It's looking to exogenous variables and all of those things that we cannot control, but they are really very, very important for tourism. And we've seen everything that's happening with COVID and the epidemiological situation, but also a lot of other things with politics and wars and all kind of issues that they have been impacting tourism and hospitality in the last few years. And then my favorite one is technology and the infrastructure. And the technology and the infrastructure is where everything is coming together, and it's where we provide the platforms where different organizations and different players can come together, plug and play, and being part of that kind of society and being part of that kind of ecosystem where we are co-creating value. And the argument is that all of these things need to work in harmony, and all of these things we need to understand in depth in order to understand the entire system of tourism through the tourism pyramid. So a lot of the research that we should be doing, it should be addressing a lot of those things, but equally we must get them all together, and we must be able to see where everything goes into what place and how that contributes on the long term sustainably and successfully to tourism development and tourism strategy. Now, we have gone through two and a half very difficult years of crisis. And I think it's really important that we understand the context and what is happening around the world and how does it drive research. And unless we understand that, we are not going to do things that they are making an impact to society. A lot of people, junior colleagues, are talking to me about different kinds of research projects, and I'm saying, okay, that's interesting to do this, but what is the impact? What are you going to do with this when you're finishing? Now, I always like to put a marker on my presentations, and I always like to understand what's happening in the context. So this is today's Financial Times cover page, and this is today the standard morning post front. And you can see the big pictures. And the big picture right now, and the big issue right now, is what's happening with Ukraine and the Russian war, and what can we do to bring peace around the world. And also politics in terms of the election of the chief executive in Hong Kong, and COVID in terms of what's happening currently in China, mainly in Shanghai, and many other places, including Hong Kong. And this is the results of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, the World Tourism Barometer, that came out a couple of weeks ago, and that is looking to what has happened in international arrivals over the years. And you can see that Asia, in particular, Asia and Pacific, had the biggest impact in terms of tourism arrivals, because the policy in many places in Asia is still quite restrictive in terms of traveling, while you can see Europe and you can see Americans having less of an impact, because they've been quite liberal in terms of opening up faster than we have seen in Asian countries. And you can see the scenarios and what has happened in the last 2 years, that went down to minus 73% in 2020, minus 71% in 2021. And then gradually we see, and we hope that we're going to be in a better situation, ideally on a minus 50% from 2019. And of course, the Russian invasion and the war to Ukraine is creating a lot of problems, particularly for those countries here that they depend on Russian and Ukrainian tourists. But also it creates a huge range of issues in terms of energy. And because of the energy that that we are taking from these regions, mainly in Europe, the prices of energy are going to go high. And what's going to happen is that is going to be reflected on tickets for airlines and all kinds of transportation. Now, we kind of seem to be in a continuous crisis, and we need to concentrate on bringing peace, health, humanity, solidarity, and resilience. It has been a global impact. Nobody had realized how global tourism is, and nobody had realized what the impact of the global tourism crisis is on livelihoods around the world. This is some of the pictures that you see in many different places in Hong Kong, where a lot of shops remain empty. This is from Ubud in Bali, in Indonesia, where they say no tourists, no food. This is in Australia, in Cairns, in the Chapukai Cultural Park, where because of COVID and because they were not able to open up for the last 2 years, they had to close the entire cultural park. And this is in Naxos Island, where I met George Babounis, who was telling me that they were not able to sell their cheese because tourists were not coming in, particularly in 2020. And they had major issues with bringing enough income to maintain their lifestyle. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing the Greek Gastronomy Festival in Hong Kong, bring a lot of these guys out to show the things that they are doing. Now, I came out quite early when COVID was start happening, and I said, we really need humanity and solidarity in the way that we're dealing with COVID and the way we're dealing with each other. And we need leadership to improve our resilience. And I've done endless seminars around the world, actually bringing those 4 principles forward and making sure that everybody understood that this is not something that's going to go away tomorrow, and to see how we can achieve those things. How can we achieve these 4 principles? And how can we make sure that those 4 principles are looking to communities and they're supporting our communities to actually go forward, given the difficulties and given the situation we had. And a lot of the things that we've seen is going away from very individualistic behavior to community behavior, to behavior where the community became much more important. And we've seen a lot of these things, solidarity, where people were passing love and heart to other people. And all starts with giving blood. And I would like to encourage you and all your students to actually give blood, because it's really, really critical that our hospitals are well supplied, but also with a lot of acts of kindness in different places. This is Captain Tom Moore, the late Captain Tom Moore, who started to generate, I think it was £5,000, and he ended up collecting £27,000, £27 million for NHS, for the health service in England. 100 years old gentleman, he started working in front of his house, and he became the epitome of resilience. And a lot of things like that came up. So this is in Thessaloniki in Greece, where chefs for zero hunger came forward and start asking the community to bring them different things, which they will then cook and deliver to different people, or they invite people that are in need to buy these things. Or in Italy, where they had this kind of baskets where people will leave in the basket whatever they could offer, and other people that they needed will come and collect. So it was an honest kind of basket situation, where if you had something that you could donate, you were donating it, and if you needed something, you are taking from the basket. And that's the way the community moved forward. This is one of my favorite restaurants in Greece, in Rhodes Island. I've never actually been to the restaurant, but what they've done is they were collecting raw food, raw material. They were cooking, and they were leaving about 200 portions outside the restaurant. And they were saying, we're closed because of lockdown, but we've cooked for you. If you need a meal, please take one. And they were sustaining their community. And this is the Panas Gurkha restaurant in London, which donated over 100,000 meals to key workers during the pandemic and those people who need this support. I'm very proud of the tourism industry. I'm very proud for what we've done and what resilience we've showed and how we've supported communities around the world. But a lot of people are telling me, look, it has been really tough. I said, yes, of course it's been really tough. But there's a saying that calm seas never made a good sailor. So this is the time where we need professionalism, and this is the time where we need to understand all the tools that we've got available in order to be able to actually deal with the challenges and manage the situation in a way that we can support our community, having an impact to our community. It's not only about thinking about ourselves as academics or as researchers, but it's really looking to how useful are we to this community. And I did an interview for Bournemouth University. They've got a research publication that they'll bring out. And I said to them, look, if I was a medical person, I would have been on the front line trying to save lives and support, vaccination and doing different things. But I'm not. So I'm in tourism. So we need to look into how we can take advantage of a lot of this knowledge to take things forward. Now, one of the things that we know is that after the storm, there's always a rainbow. And I think we need to look forward to that kind of rainbow by looking to what can we do to support our resilience by developing smart and agile tourism. And of course, to do that, as far as COVID is concerned, we need herd immunity. And herd immunity is coming from vaccination and for those people who have suffered COVID already. So what I'm going to concentrate in a minute is smart and agile tourism, and explain to you the different tools that we've got in order to achieve that. But before I say that, is that one of the things that we learned was that the first thing that people will do when they can do is they can travel. And as soon as I got double vaccinated, I was in a plane 15 days later, traveling to Naxos and to different places in Greece, and paying respect to God Apollo, because you can see on the encyclopedia that door, it's from the temple of God Apollo. And it was kind of symbolic. I was completing the encyclopedia and I had to go on location to celebrate that and pay respects. But a lot of people just realize that's absolutely critical for their mental health and their ability to meet with loved ones and to engage with different people, to actually travel and look into different things and to engage with different communities around the world. Now, when we start, we are in 2022, we know that we're going to have a difficult 2023, and we kind of see that from 2024, we are probably going to start going towards normality, if you like, or towards an ability to travel. But my thesis is that 2030 will be very different from 2019, because we've moved forward. We've learned to do a lot of things using technological tools, and we've engaged in many different ways of managing different products and services and processes. We've learned to do a lot of these things in a very, very different way. Now, when you look into 2030, it's only 8 years away. And 8 years in tourism is quite short time, because by the time we plan different facilities and different services, we are going to get there. So we really need to understand how we can take advantage of all the tools that we've got. If we can mute this person, thank you. So it's really about understanding how can we take advantage of all the things that we've got towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals towards 2030. And tourism will be absolutely critical, and we've seen this in many communities around the world, from Bali, from Greece, from South America, even from Hong Kong, even big cities, even London had major impacts because tourism was not here. And what we've realized, a lot of the activities, the cultural activities, and how society is operating cannot actually function without tourism demand and without the resources that the tourism demand is bringing forward. And that's one of the reasons why we launched the Agenda 2030 for Tourism Review, and we are still waiting for more papers to come forward to look into how tourism can actually be part of the 2030 agenda. We need to reignite tourism, and we need to reignite tourism by strengthening destinations in different places, by developing competitive advantages to actually create differentiation and to enhance the reputation and the destination image. We need to do that by using innovation and investment to nurture new and innovative business models, and we need to optimize the resources that we use in order to satisfy tourist demand and support the tourism services. It's really critical that we focus on the resident benefits, because quite a lot of tourism has actually happened in the name of the local residents, but the benefits have gone to different places. And we can do this because we are very blessed. All the assets and all the key resources are still there to co-create the experience by differentiating products and creating authentic experience with local residents. And those things have not been destroyed, but we need to look forward, and we need to look in a different way that we used to operate in the past. And the different way takes advantage of the technological tools that we've got and takes advantage of agility. We need to understand what's happening around us, and we need to engage with all the resources in an agile way and provide real-time services and value to all the stakeholders that are available. And we need to be able to operate in a very different way from what we used to do in the past. So I say here the end of planning. In fact, it's not the end of planning, but the planning period is becoming much shorter. So where we used to have the luxury of having a planning period of 2 years, increasingly we'll have a planning period of 2 weeks, because within 1 or 2 weeks, the conditions of production can change dramatically, and a lot of things may be irrelevant to what they used to be in the past. I've just heard that Cathay Pacific is flying to different destinations every 2 weeks, every 14 days. And the reason why they do that is that if the government finds that they've got cases, that they brought cases from a particular route, they close them for 2 weeks. So what they've done is they fly every 2 weeks. So if they are closed for 2 weeks, that will not have any impact on their operational and customer care services, because they'll be 2 weeks anyway. So in order to restart tourism, we need to look into smart tourism tools and agility using ambient intelligence. And a lot of these things are not actually new, and they're not very different from what we were doing for a long time. This Steve Jobs with the first Mac, and it says creativity is just about connecting things. And I can sympathize with that because I bought his first Mac when I was still in university in Greece. And ever since I've been connecting, I've been using Apple to connect and to connect different dots and different players in order to maximize the value that we can co-create. When you look into smartness takes advantage of interconnectivity and interoperability of integrated technologies to re-engineer process and data in order to produce innovative services, products, and procedures towards maximizing the value for all the stakeholders. So this re-engineering is enabling the reshaping of products, actions, processes, and services in real time by engaging different stakeholders simultaneously to optimize the collective performance and competitiveness and generate agile solutions for everybody who is involved in the value system. It's really important that people understand that when we're talking about smartness, we are not talking about technology. Technology enables smartness, but it's not the technology that we're looking at. Technology is bringing the network together and enables the network to operate in an interoperable way, maximizing the output of the entire network in a very clever way. So smartness is actually the glue of interoperable, interconnected, and mutually beneficial systems and stakeholders within this ecosystem that provides the infrastructure for the value co-creation for everybody. So we have networks, we've got the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything, we've got sensors and beacons, we've got big data and data analytics, we've got social media, Web 2, and user-generated content that's all coming together, and we can see different views from different places. And we've got technology enablers that they are supporting the co-creation and the co-opetition towards maximizing the experience that people are getting out of our hospitality and travel products. So I've said already, smartness is not about automation, information technology, it's not about digitization, it's not about evolution, social media reservation, but it's really about the glue that brings together the entire network by offering real-time, dynamic, and adaptive environments where you can create customized, individualized, and contextualized experiences that they fit to this particular individual at this particular moment. And it's really about supporting the collective competitiveness and coordination by supporting the value co-creation for all stakeholders. We've done a lot of research on this, and we've seen that, okay, technology is one of the inputs, but people and leadership is also critical. And those things are coming together in the space where economic actors are meeting social actors and technological actors towards the value co-creation. And then you've got a range of different smart innovations where you've got smart mobility, smart government, smart economy, smart people, smart living, smart environments, where all of those things are the basis for creating smart tourism by looking to how you can interconnect attractions, accessibility, amenities, available package activities, and ancillary services, the 6 A's of tourism. So smartness is really about bringing the network together by using a range of tools to maximize the value that's being co-created. Now, we see a lot of technologies that they keep moving and they keep changing, and a lot of people are telling me, which technology should I actually use? And this is the wrong question, because what you need to do is you really need to look into the emerging and enabling technologies and understand how those emerging and enabling technologies are supporting innovations. And how can we go right in the middle here, where on the one side you've got supply chains, on the other side we've got customer networks, and we can co-create value here by using all kinds of different technologies that will enable us to bring a better understanding of the destination and the resources and the people and what I can actually do there on the one side, and on the other side, it's how can I provide the services to and the tools to the supply side to actually maximize the benefits by interacting with the customers that they are the destination. One of these things is 괶ᴜ, and 괶ᴜ is about social media, context, and mobile. And when we're looking to context, we're looking to internal context, and that is what people feel, what kind of needs they've got, what kind of wants they've got, what kind of requirements they've got, and how can they operate with their environment. And based on their internal context. Have they been there before? What kind of emotional status they've got? All of those things come together. And then on the other side, you've got external context, where these are factors of the external environment, like location, weather, social environment, season and time, political situation, traffic, emergencies, delays, air pressure, light. And of course, in the last 2 years, we've seen the pandemic, and now we're seeing the war and all the consequences that these things are bringing through the regulation, through the prices of energy, through the logistics, and what we can do with a lot of those things. And again, here you see the internal and the external factors that they're influencing these things. One of the most critical elements that we've seen in the last few years is how big data empower their agility for dynamic, volatile, and time-sensitive industries like tourism, and how we really need big data coming out of silos and being in interoperable data warehouses, where this data can be mined in real time to understand what is happening in our space, what's happening within our network, and how can we maximize the benefit for the different players. So to make it simple, you really start from input from data from wherever the data is coming. Then you're coming to a data warehouse, or where you're storing data and you're treating data. And then you're going through a range of analytics, including descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive, to understand what is happening, why is that happening, what is likely to happen, and what can we do about it, and how can we benefit from this. And then by doing that, creating value and creative feedback. The positive thing here is that this can go around many times, and the system learns by reaction to different kinds of stimuli, and the system is getting clever to deal with the different elements that exogenous variables that we've got. And this is how a tourism framework can come together on the one side with the supply side, bringing data, big data on the cloud to be data mined, and then create value through value aggregators to come down to consumers, which then generate extra data that's coming back to the suppliers. So this is a smart tourism framework that can operate together, and it can support different players very quickly to enhance their competitiveness and engage with different people. Now, one of the things that we've seen is that we see different customers operating in different ways, and we really need to understand what is the priorities of customers, and how do customers and travelers behave when they're going around different places. So you've got, on the one side, you've got face-to-face contact, physical contact, and analog contact when people are at destinations. And then on the other side, you see online social contact, where people are communicating with friends, relatives already where they are. And what we've seen is that people quite often they do both, but we've seen that it's not everybody doing everything. So we've done research with Daisy Fan and Bingling to look into how can we classify, what kind of typologies can we create, and how can we get different people classified in different typologies on how they would like to travel and to use technology during their travel. You can see on the one side that they are what we call daily life controllers, that they are people that are constantly connected, and no matter where they are, they're engaging in their normal life. And you can see on the other side, digital detox travelers, and those travelers are those who are arriving at this destination, they lock their smartphone and their laptop computers on the hotel safe, and they go around being totally away from technology. And then you've got other people like the dual zone travelers or the diversionary travelers, that they are doing different things at different stages. What is critical is to understand how online platforms and how technology and big data can support the engagement with the destination and can support the co-creation of the emotional experiences. And we've done a lot of work with colleagues to look into what is actually triggering the engagement with destination, and how can we facilitate the destination engagement using different platforms. And that will determine different things. And from a micro level, at the hospitality level, the work that we've done with Rosanna Long is really about smart hospitality, to look into how a hotel property is connected with a range of different other systems out there, and how it's engaging with the entire destination and the entire range of partners within the ecosystem, and how can we optimize the performance of the whole network rather than of an individual hotel. The idea is that we are supporting the ecosystem. We are not supporting each of the partners on its own. So we'd like to have the supplier of the hotel, the travel agent, the tour operator, the airlines, the destination management organization, the event organizers, all of these co-creating maximum value for everybody in there, rather each of them maximizing their own benefit. And the concept of nowness is coming forward, and the nowness is really understanding what's happening in real time and supporting the real time by providing instant gratification. We understand what's happening in real time by looking to data, big data, by developing customer-centric approaches and processes, by experiencing, by enhancing experiences in real time towards the co-creation of value. So from a situation where we had price or differentiation being the two sources of competitive advantage, now nowness and time is becoming also a very important factor in co-creation of value because of instant gratification. And again, here we understand what creates real-time triggers, what is happening in the context, to actually make sure that we understand how we can bring together different factors to support real-time service enablers and create value for different stakeholders. Again, this is a work that we've done in 2019. We're published in the Journal of Tourism Management, Journal of Travel and Tourism Marketing, where we look into nowness as a key factor for value co-creation. And this is one of the latest work I'm doing with one of my PhD students, Alicia Bethune, and my colleague Lee Miles, where we are looking to real-time response and how can destinations in different places deal with crisis by taking advantage of all the different information, wherever the information is, and looking to big data, wherever the big data is, and make sure that everybody shares information through interoperable, intelligent, and interconnected systems. So they've got the right information in order to be able to make the right decision and to bring together the entire ecosystem to operate under the pressure of crisis, because crisis becomes the norm. And we really need to understand how sharing information, sharing process can actually support the resilience of destinations. And ultimately, you've got ambient intelligence. And ambient intelligence is when you've got all kinds of systems being in all kinds of different places. In each device, each item is all interconnected through the Internet of Everything. And then there you've got technical developments that include artificial intelligence and machine learning, where we're interconnecting everything with a range of different networks to understand what is happening and actually co-create a value and benefit by connecting everything together. So ambient intelligence is really about bringing mobile tools together through pervasive computing and ambient interoperability by bringing embedded systems that they're context-aware, they're personalized, they're adaptive and anticipatory. So these ambient characteristics of the systems will enable us to bring all different kind of data together and work through the Internet of Everything to co-create value. So in a road like that, you have a lot of vehicles that they're all interconnected, they speak to each other, they can say, there's a traffic jam in front, please do not come in this place. And all of these things can be recalculated in real time and perhaps choose different routes or doing different things. One of the important things here is that we understand that we're going to have human-to-human interoperability and interconnectivity by a whole range of different connectivity patterns. So you've got business, government, consumers, employees, interest groups, local residents, and eventually you'll have robots and machines that will be communicating with each other. And they'll be making decisions based on having a conversation between different players. Customers are coming right in the middle, and then you've got the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything. You've got the networks through the 5G, 6G, and everything else that will be coming in the future. You've got RFID, you've got mobile devices, smartphones, and wearables. You've got the applications, and you've got cryptocurrency and blockchains. All of these things interconnecting with each other and using sensors to collect information and beacons to distribute, to broadcast information. And that information may also be networks, it may be value, it may be ways of interconnecting different people. That is based on pervasive computing, and gamification is one of the other elements that we may have, and the latest book that we've created on gamification is actually addressing a lot of those things, and will be used, they'll be taking advantage of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, the next bit is a little bit more interesting in a way that is very new, and I've seen the Dean has already received his new toy. I don't remember the name exactly, but the new robot has arrived in Hong Kong, and I'm looking forward to be introduced to the new robot and play with it. You can see a lot of... what's the name?
괵ᴜ. 괵ᴜ means future in Korean.
Future. Okay, welcome to 괵ᴜ.
Right,
I've seen here in the background.
Wow.
Is that here, or is that him, or?
She, my friend.
She, okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So welcome to 괵ᴜ. Now, when you look around in different in different systems in different places, you see robots are coming into many different aspects. I'm not going to play this video. This is about Amazon and how they're doing the distribution, but you can see a lot of different types of robots and a lot of anthropomorphic robots and a lot of different styles of robots. We've seen the Hannah Hotel and the fact that they fired 50% of their robots because they were not adding value to their customers. Apparently, when you're sleeping and snoring, you were waking up the customers and they were annoying. And this is some years back in the New Century Grand Hotel in Hangzhou. This little fellow here was following me around, and this is a paper in Munich airport informing people about where they should go, what gates they should, where the gates are. And these are different servers. And we've done a lot of work with a global group of very good friends and colleagues headed by Professor ʀᴱ, and we look into how managers are going to adopt robotic technologies and what makes them keen to actually adopt technology. And you can see that there are technological context, organizational context, environmental context, and you can see that innovation is one of the most important factors as well in terms of what people adopt. But the most important thing is the relative advantage. What is the benefit that is brought by robots? And I'm very tempted to play this little video for you. It's about 2 or 3 minutes, but it's showing how Tesla is producing their new cars. Have a look because you'll understand where we're going next. So you get the point how Tesla cars are being produced. And this is when quite often people are telling me in tourism and hospitality, we cannot use robots in tourism and hospitality because of a whole range of different reasons. And this is some years back, this a robotic way to create the perfect burger. So that was a quick way to show you if we can do a Tesla, we can definitely do a burger. Now, a lot of the robots that we'll see in tourism and hospitality are not anthropomorphic robots, and there'll be different types of robots in different places. So some of the research that we've done is on voice-activated robots in hospitality. And this is about Alexa and Alexa being used in hotels. I'm not going to play this video because of time, but I'm going to show you the results that we've found. We found that a lot of people are using already different types of voice assistants at home, And when they come in the tourism hospitality setting, they quite often like to do some of the things that they are doing at home. They would like to do it on the tourism hospitality settings. And here is the things that they'll do at home, and this is the things that they'll do when they're traveling. So one of the things that we looked at is what people are comfortable doing in one setting or the other, and what's in the middle on what they are familiar to do. And there's an issue about, on the one side, what is the tourism and hospitality professionals are willing and able to do in terms of adopting technology and robotics. And on the other side, it is about what is the customer is comfortable to do, and how can we add value to both of those by taking care of the different elements and the different requirements that they've got. And this is, we look into the advantages and disadvantages for consumers and for hotels. And we've looked into some of the things that people really like, enjoy, and some of the things that they don't. This is RISE. For those of you who are in Hong Kong, you have seen RISE in K11 following me. And this is Robotia, that is that you can do a nice cocktail for you. And if it does, then it does a little dance at the end. So it can show your appreciation. Okay. So this is the technology and the smart thing. And now very quickly, I'm going to go through very few slides about how do you publish the cutting edge research and how your research need to have an impact. Now, your research need to have an impact when it's relevant to the context of what the society is facing. So we had very quickly to publish a lot of papers on COVID. In fact, myself personally, I haven't published any papers on COVID because I spend most of the time advising industry and working with by using my blog, because I couldn't go through the formal process of reviewing. Everybody needed answers there and then, and we were moving much faster. So to publish in Tourism Review, you can see the impact factors, and you can see how the journal has grown in the last few years. And you can see the papers that we are getting. This is the call for papers for the Agenda 2030. We really want to publish a virtual special issue, maybe two, depends how many papers we're going to get, where we can see how tourism can actually support the Agenda 2030 for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I think this will be a contribution to global society from Tourism Review by bringing some of the best research in to be published in here. You can see all the statistics online. That's not very important. But the important thing is to actually focus here for a minute, that we all, and there are many editors here that they are editing different journals. We are all looking for the golden eggs, effectively, and the bright ideas. And quite a lot of times I see a lot of young researchers that they're only focused in publish 3 papers, 5 papers, 4 papers. And I really want to discourage that. I really want to encourage people to publish papers that they'll make a contribution to society, wherever that society is, and to think strategically on what is the impact of your research to society, and what's your impact, what do you bring to society? How can you help society to achieve the different goals and going back to the 2030 goals? Now, some of the practicalities of it is really about understanding the journal, read what papers the journal is publishing, and discuss what papers are published, and to see what is the journal is doing. And a lot of people who are sending papers to Tourism Review, they have never seen any of the papers, or they have not engaged with the journal, which is really a disadvantage because they cannot really understand what we're trying to do. And one of the key things is offer to be a reviewer for the journal. We're all struggling to find reviewers, but I think by being a reviewer, you understand the journal much better. I see a lot of people trying to go the rapid publication route, and they are trying to do, they're trying to publish their research as soon as possible. and almost focusing on the number of papers that they're going to publish. I think it's much more critical to look into the hard work of solving a valid problem and go through the discipline of doing this. And to basically get published, you need to write a brilliant paper and then work with the referees in satisfying their needs and improving the quality in order to make sure that the paper is a good one and it can make a contribution, because a lot of the papers that we see are not good papers. And in tourism review, we've got 65% is desk rejection. It doesn't go beyond my desk. So 65% out of the 600-700 papers we get every year, we are not pursuing them to the next stage, and that's really important. I don't have the time to explain that in much detail, but basically to say that when someone is submitting a paper, it's going if it survives the desk rejection, if it's not rejected there, it'll go through reviewing and revision, and then it's going to this loop of several revisions, where the authors should work with the reviewers to improve the paper towards acceptance. And I think the more people understand the process of this, and if you are new into this game as a junior colleague or a PhD student, it's good to work with some experienced people who can actually introduce you and explain to you how the system works. Now, you need to be patient with editors as well, because we are doing all kinds of things. We are teaching, researching, doing presentation, writing our papers, do administration, manage departments, mentor students, supervise PhDs, and at the same time we're editing journals. And you can see this is my typical kind of day where I've got all kinds of different issues here, different papers that they need decisioning. And quite often we'll get to work wherever we can, really. This Gatwick Airport waiting to get on a flight a couple of years back. But in order to publish good research, I think you really need to look into the journals, download papers, read regularly, ask your students to read, review papers, and submit papers, and invite to support different people. I'll say again the call for papers for Agenda 2030, that ideally would like them to be mapped to the Agenda 2030, the United Nations agenda. And I'm going to show you my gamification book that I mentioned earlier. And I'll say, thank you very much for listening to me. I've gone through a lot of material very quickly, but that's based on these publications that have come out in the last 5 years, which explain a lot of the things that I've been saying. Thank you very much. Mungo Isai. And this is how you are getting connected with me, if you like to get connected with me. And I've managed to do it in 1 hour, Q.
Thank you so much, Professor Buhalis. There's a lot of information and thoughts and great perspectives within this 1 hour. I think you have covered many topics, and each of them worth 2 hours for the discussions. Just want to let everybody know, you can type your questions in the chat, or you can right here, just unmute yourself and ask questions directly. Please feel free to do so. And again,
I've seen one
yes.
question from Maricel that says, has the deadline been extended? Yes, due to public demand, we've extended to May. So you're welcome to send your paper, ideally before May.
Yes, great. Thank you, Dimitrios. Okay, while people might be thinking about the questions, can I ask you the first question?
Go on.
Yeah, you talk about the smartness, and I noticed that the most recent studies you have done about the robots and also the voice assistancy, it's very interesting. People are using take advantage of the voice assistant in different scenarios. There looks like there are a lot of different purposes or scenarios when they're doing it at home and versus the hotels. You went through this slides very quickly. We couldn't really take a look at the details. But why do you think people would differentiate, the use of the mobile phone or the voice, from in the hotel room or in the hotel restaurant versus at the home? What are the biggest differences you have, from your study? I'm just very curious about this.
It's an interesting question. The big thing is that your own system has learned your accent and has learned your preferences. So a lot of these machines have got a machine learning on the background. So if you say play music, I will play very different music. As you know, I play Barbara now, from the French singer. So if I keep playing Barbara on the background, the machine learns that when I say music, I'm talking about that. If I'm saying play Chinese opera, then the system understands that what I'm asking refers to that. In the same way, like when you're going to a restaurant often and your waiter knows what's your favorite. Okay, so what's happening is that your home systems, you control, the abilities of the home system. The minute you go to a hotel room in London, in Los Angeles, in Beijing, or in Seoul, you're in a different environment. You're using a new system that may not be intuitive to your own needs. But I think one of the things that we'll see is that a lot of people will be using their smartphones because their smartphones will understand them better because they use them all the time. And the smartphone is going to pass on the order to the hotel system or to the travel or to anything else. So it will act as an interface.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. So what is the implications for the industry then? They cannot rely on what people get used to do at home.
No, but I think the systems are getting better and better. And yesterday we had in my class, we had Mandy Ng from Hong Kong Express. And she said that 80% of the inquiries are coming through chat and WeChat and WhatsApp. So what's happening is that we see that the consumer is moving towards systems being asked in a normal. That is the main difference. Is the way that we communicate with the machine. Instead of typing, we'll be talking to the machine in normal language, and the machine will need to understand what is the requirement and actually fetch the right information or do the right action, generate the right process. So if I'm in Hotel Icon and I say I would like a coffee, if I've trained the machine has been trained to understand what coffee I would like. I like an iced coffee, no sugar, no milk. It may trigger the need and the process to get an iced coffee. But if I'm going to a new hotel that doesn't know, that machine will need to ask all the supplementary questions to make sure that it understands what I'm requiring. Provided that the new system will be able to understand my accent. There are some very funny videos about not being understanding accents in different places.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dimitrios. I think Professor Vic now asked a very great question. Can you see it from your screen, Dimitrios?
Yeah. Can you share with us one example of smart tourism research project that you worked that has created significant direct benefit to the industry? Many of such research projects quite often seem very conceptual in industry, do not read them and apply transformation. That's a very good question. What we are doing is, when you work with industry, you really need to understand their needs and their requirements. And a lot of my collaborators who have looked into a lot of different things that for me it was research, but for them was application. So one of the hotels I work in Cyprus, the Aliathon Resort, we instigated a whole different strategy, which was not about smartness and technology, but the smartness and technology was the vehicle of where we are going. Because back 10 years ago, they were totally dependent on one tour operator. And they were very much dependent on that tour operator and what was happening. So what we did is we created a strategy for engaging customers directly through various platforms of social media. And we engage them with a community manager, and we came up with several initiatives that are happening at different times. And some of them were about making money and proposing different products and services. Some of them was about loyalty. Some of them were about information and affinity with hotel staff. So we had a whole range of different things. So I understand the nature of the question, and I understand that sometimes academics do research for research, but this is not my case. My case is I'm very much involved in creating innovations based on engagement of understanding the problems that we face in industry, and developing relevant solutions to those problems.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Dimitrios. There are also some questions, if you look a little bit, posted a bit early, about access to the journal.
Can we remind people to switch on the camera, because I really don't like to see black boxes in front of me. I like all these people who are smiling. Michael is smiling. The dean and the new, what do we call here again? Sorry, Professor John, what do we call our, what's your name?
Sorry, whom are you talking about?
The dean assistant, the lady at the back, the new robot.
Anyway, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes. You are at the front runner of technology in our field. I'm not a technology person, but I at least perceive what's happening. And I became interested in this research in this area. I'm not truly interested in how technology is done, but more interested in what implication it will have in our life in future, in our industry. So I believe that, I'm a firm believer that in the last few years, we have seen a huge transformation of industry to digital. And I think COVID has accelerated this trend. This is definitely the direction we are going in future. But at the same time, as a human, as a consumer, I'm wondering at a certain time in the future, when we forget about the COVID-19, I'm sure there'll be a day that, wow, in 2020, 21, 22, we used to have this problem. And that was like many, many years ago. Then we almost forgot about what went through in our lives. Do you think there will be time we just want to go back to things without any technology, just being us?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think what's going to happen, and that's why the paper we've done with Daisy Fan, it's exactly that. It's the different typologies. For the time being, we describe different people or different types of people, but in fact, it can be different contexts. So if you would like to go away with your kids or with your loved one and actually do not get any disturbance, you can give all your technology to someone, a butler, who is going to look after them. You can switch off and you say, I don't want any interruption. Or if you say, yes, but I would like to be in touch just in case something very important is happening in the school. You may have a babysitter, if you like, of your social media or of your technology, who is actually paid to keep an eye, so you'll feel comfortable that you don't have what we call FOMO. So there's the fear of missing out, and the other one, what's the other one? The pleasure of missing out. And what we'll see is that people will select different things in different contexts. So sometimes when you're going on a 5-star dinner and you would like the service of a waiter, and you like the violin, and you like the champagne and the nice wine, you may not like to touch any of the technology. But when you've got 20 minutes to grab something to eat for dinner because you're in between meetings, you may like a robot to create a burger for you for 50 Hong Kong dollars rather than 500 Hong Kong dollars when a chef is creating something. So I think it's not either or. I think it's different users for different situations. And I think we'll be in a situation where we'll have the courtesy or the option of the choice to get the right thing at the right time. Now, having said that, I think there are two issues that are really, really important here that they underline a lot of those things. One is human resources have become a super important resource, and a lot of places around the world, they are finding really difficult to employ people in hospitality and tourism. So therefore, some of the things we need to outsource to machines, especially to things that they're not really nice for humans to do. I don't know anybody who would like to do dishwashing, and I definitely don't know anybody who would like to do pot washing. If a machine can do it, so much the better, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is the cost and the inflation and the processes. So we are going to a stage that in order to be able to feed a lot of people for one way or another and serve a lot of people at the price that they can afford, we should be able to look into the processes. It may be industrial kitchens and ghost kitchens. It may be different ways of actually serving people, but the different processes have got a different cost element. And I think increasingly we need to coordinate what do we serve, to whom, and for how much. And also we need to understand their needs, because quite often we have in our mind that the customer would like this, would like a high quality, very personalized kind of experience. Sometimes they don't want that. They just want a quick meal because they are on their way on something else. But sometimes they would like all the service, all the excellence that the human can offer. And another thing is that the human does not always offer excellence. When I'm going around in many restaurants in Hong Kong, if obviously I don't speak Cantonese, but if the service provider does not have the ability to communicate, at least on the basics in English, the experience is not very good. While if I go into a screen and I press things I see in different languages, the experience can be better. So it's a long answer to a very targeted question, and the short answer is it all depends.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dimitrios. You brought up the HR, human components, and the HR issue. Actually, you have been studying the smart tourism for a long time, and the smart tourism has a huge implication to the industry. All those robots and so on technology, they are actually replacing human jobs. And now in the past 2 years, the pandemic had caused a lot of talents in our industry, have already left this industry, tourism and hospitality. So which made it also more difficult for our industry to recover. But this is the fact we are all, understand to a certain degree. But can you think of any, on the other hand, any possibilities, the smart tourism, the advance of the technology and the advance of our understanding knowledge about smart tourism could help the industry, tourism and hospitality, to create new jobs, new career opportunities? Do you think that is possible? And if so, how could the smart tourism could help the industry to create more career opportunities for people?
Yeah, I think smart tourism needs design and needs people to design the right systems and redesign the process and to understand the customers and understand what is requirement and actually bring the networks to operate together. And I think that is the way that there'll be a lot of new jobs that will be created, jobs that do not exist yet, and jobs that we didn't know that we need. And I think there'll be educated and well-paid jobs away from the dishwasher and the pot washer. So there'll be that kind of element there. But equally, if I've got a recommendation system that takes me to one of these small little barbecue restaurants in Hong Kong that does a very nice, I don't know, barbecue pork, and actually gets me to understand before I go there what is the process, and gives me the opportunity to go with the master barbecue chef to spend an evening to learn how to barbecue pork in the best possible way, and to learn from their authentic experience and to engage in different kind of things. Or to take us, some of us, we were on a tour to Yau Ma Tei, and we went to a tofu place, a place that was doing tofu. And normally what we have so far, they take you to a place, they show you around, say, this the shop that we're doing tofu, would you like to buy some? Goodbye. But this is not a transformative experience. The transformative experience is if I can make my own tofu and I can learn from these people that they are authentic masters of doing this, that will enhance my own experience. So, and where smartness is this? Smartness is really about connecting what are we really interested in with the people out at the destination, that they're really experts and they've got the capability of doing this. And if you like to make it more complex, let's go back to the master barbecue person. And let's say that my requirement is that the master barbecue person does it in Greek as well. So let's make more requirements, right? So this is where you need systems to actually bridge demand and supply, and to bring the absolute expert to the absolute demand and make sure that you connect people. And I think that is the level where smartness is going to take us, by enabling us to find everybody. You know, if I go to Chengdu and I'm meeting my friends and I'm going for a hot pot, what is the best hot pot, and how can I go and enjoy a hot pot by learning how to do it, not by being served, but by learning how to do it, and then going to the pandas and actually adopt a panda and have a camera to look into how my panda is doing, and going and visit my panda every 2 to 3 years. It's those kind of new solutions that smartness is bringing us, to have a deep connection with the destination and to engage with people and resources of the destination in a deep way. And guess what? I can do exactly the same thing in Ghana. I can do it in Australia. I can do it in Iran, and I can do it in Korea in 5 minutes. And I haven't talked about metaverse, and that's the next big thing, where you'll be able to move into different environments digitally and physically. So you'll be digitally connecting with different resources. So I'll be looking to my adopted panda in Chengdu, and I'll be meeting my friend in Ghana, and I'll be looking to how kimchi is being produced in Korea. And then I'll be doing physical visits in different places to actually have in-depth connection and engagement with the place.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Michael had a question before. I've seen his hand up.
Professor Buhalis, thank you for your presentation. My question is actually partially answered by your previous answer to Dr. Xiao. I want to further the question that Dean Chan and Dr. Xiao have asked does smartness always require technology? Does it always need to be technology facilitated? Because some of the global South country or some of the places may not have the budget to invest in some sort of technologies. Can they still be smart? Smart destinations, smart facilities, smart tourism in a way. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Smartness is not about technology. And I don't know, many of you would have been in my presentations where I saw this very kind housekeeper in Hangzhou some years ago. She left a little note in my room and said, "Dear Professor Buhalis, you'll be doing a presentation tomorrow, and I left for you a candy so you can protect your throat." That was the smartest thing I've ever seen, because she knew my need before my need. So it was at the level of care of my mother. Now, technology supports you in terms of finding out about things. It's understanding what's happening. So smartness, the technology element of smartness helps in two things. One is connecting with different people and different resources and have a deep understanding of what is required. And I think I was talking to colleagues in Kenya the other day. We invited them in my class, and we had the Secretary General of Tourism of Kenya coming forward. And one of the things I was saying to them is that a lot of the African countries in particular, they are going to jump to the next stage without having to go through the painful process of technology investment that we had to go in the West, digging the roads and getting cables in and doing things like that. Because 5G and 6G and all of those new technologies will enable us to have low-cost technological solutions that will be more accessible to everybody. But I think the issue is not about money, and the issue is not about technology. The issue is about leadership. Do we have enough leaders to understand what is required? And do we have enough leaders to actually bring forward those technological innovations? Because what happens is that most of the leaders, bless you, most of the leaders are actually digital immigrants. They are not digital natives. So typically they are in their late 50s, 60s. They have not had so many years of experience with technology, while people in their 20s and their 30s, they were born with technology. They understand technology in a very different way. I keep saying to my students that I got my first mobile when I was 30 years old. And they keep telling me that their parents at their similar age with me, they find really, really difficult to work with technology. But these are the decision makers. And what's happening is that quite a lot of our students and our graduates, they're going to industry and they're in junior positions. And they're asked to start again from very junior positions without really understanding what is their technical capability or what can they do for the organization, because sometimes they know more than a manager of 20 years of 20 years of experience. So it's really about leadership to understand where is the skill, the appropriate skill to bring the right kind of innovation, and also how can we re-engineer the processes in order to be able to adopt new innovative processes that they need the requirements of. And again, going back, not all the customers are the same. Some customers will appreciate very much to go to a reception desk, check-in process, give their credit cards, whatever. some other customers, so they'll think that this is high level of customer care. Some other customers will find that very boring, very demanding, and they will just want a code to be sent to their mobile phone as soon as they have arrived in a property, and to be told, go to room 852, and here is your code to get into your room, or here's a QR code, you scan it and you are in. Now, the 10 minutes I've saved from interacting with the receptionist, some people may feel that you are taking away from my service. Some other people will feel that, oh, that gives me benefit. I used to work a lot with the European Commission 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I used to go at the Hilton in the old Hilton in, now it's called the Hotel in Brussels. And I used to go there almost every week for three months. And every time I had to go to reception, and every time they had to look into my passport, and every time they had to look into my credit card, and every time they had to look into everything and take 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes for the check-in process, plus wait for them to be available. I didn't want this service. What I wanted is my key. Thank you very much. Goodbye. That would have given me bigger value. So it's really about understanding what value do customers are looking for, and using the tools in the best possible way to actually supporting the value that the customer is looking for. And at the same time, supporting all the other stakeholders and look after the local community. Because ultimately, we need to look after the local community.
Great,
Professor
thank you.
Buhalis? Okay, I have a question. So we are interested in research, right? Research. Most papers, are talking about just customers' perception of technology, and also the data analytical method, the semantic analysis, network analysis. Something papers are coming out, right? So, but however, behind this kind of event, what kind of sociology or psychology theories can be applied? Can you give us any idea? This kind of theory works very well in this technology. Thank you.
I mean, normally we're using technology adoption models, and we're looking to what makes people adopt technology and how they operate with technology. But also, it depends from which discipline you're coming from. You mentioned psychology, sociology. There are a lot of different ways of looking at it. I'm much more an industry person, so I'm looking from a strategic management and marketing perspective, and I'm looking to how we can use management information systems to change data and processes in a way that can optimize systems. So my background is really optimization of resources in a way that support these things. And a lot of, it's very interesting what you said, because a lot of papers are consumer-based, and you know why they're consumer-based, right? Because they're easier to get data. So someone is creating a questionnaire, they put it online, they ask people to fill things, and they don't even bother to do some qualitative research first. So they're collecting numbers immediately. And these numbers, I can tell you, most of the times are useless, because what people are stating that they're going to do and what people are actually doing is a very, very different thing. But it's easy. A lot of people find it really easy to pay, I don't know, $500 to collect 500 questionnaires and write in 3 days and write a paper that's totally irrelevant. And we see a lot of these papers.
MTech data.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yes, Dimitrios, there was a question asked by two audience, Mary and Nina early, about how to access the journal. I think it's your journal. Would you like to answer them?
Yeah, I think most of the journal is part of Emerald. So normally universities have got access to the journal. If they don't, you need to ask your university to subscribe to the journal. It's part of the Emerald package. Okay.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, well, wow, 1.5 hours runs fast. Well, all the time. But now I saw the peak time we had over 200 participants, but now we still have 165. For all of those who are still here, I believe it's, we have learned a lot about the smart tourism, but also we would like to know more about the research. And can I ask the final question on behalf of all? Can you give us some real hint for the smart tourism, field? Can you give us 2 or 3 suggestions in terms of either the topics or the directions which we would be very welcomed by a journal editor like you to do research on in the, we're just saying, in the next year or 2? That could give us, very good guidance in terms of which direction we're looking at. I think that's, can you do that? 2 or 3 clear directions?
I think so. I think I look into value. Who needs what value? So those people who are focusing on industry, I look into how do you change processes and use big data in order to generate value. So if you're a hotel, how can you actually add value to your operations and to your profitability by using big data and process? If you're a consumer, I look into what is this consumer or what context is this consumer in. So, I mean, one of the things that you find here in Hong Kong that surprised me since I arrived here is how many people own pets and dogs and cats and turtles and all these things, and how they take them to restaurants, right? So if you've got a dog owner, and now they call them pet parents, apparently, because they are not like I've got a dog, but I've got a dog that is my child almost. So you see a lot of people going to restaurants and getting the dog to eat from their table, and you see all kind of different behavior, right? And as I was going around, I was thinking, is this person being served right now? Is the dog being served? Is the dog parent being served? And what is the opinion of the other customers? Do you like to sit? How do you co-create experience with other customers? Would you like to sit in a table, and in the table next to you, you've got 3 humans and 2 dogs eating out of the table? And I'm saying that because I know that there are people who have got strong views one way or another. But if you've got that particular need and this particular demand, there must be a supply somewhere that can satisfy this demand. And that should actually create a range of different product proposition and experience proposition to support this demand. So my role as an information systems person and as a smart tourism person is actually understand the demand, create the profiles, and make sure that they are bridged with the suppliers, and make sure that the suppliers understand what is required. So I'll say what Bezos is saying in Amazon, right? Try to understand what your customer wants and go all the way back to actually serve your customer, and make sure that you understand the needs, the requirements, the process, the data. And the same thing applies to destinations. What kind of customers, what kind of tourists do I want to attract in Hong Kong? What kind of tourists do I want to attract in Chengdu? What kind of tourists do I want to attract in Ghana? And how can I understand the types of consumers and actually develop product propositions, and then go back and create the processes to address those consumers?
Okay, great, thank you. So no matter it's from a management point of view, from the consumer point of view, from any context, any specific context, but the key point is to specify the value, how this research, right, could actually serve any particular problems or to help either the managers or the consumers and so on. Yeah, I got
exactly.
it.
And that is the way you create impact. That's impactful, because the people who have got dogs and they go around and they feel frustrated one way or another need the solution. And then we should give them the solution. The people in Ghana that they're expecting different kind of tourists, that they need to be according to their needs, their traditions, what they want to do. They expect a solution. So we are in the middle of the bridge. We are creating the platforms that connect demand with supply. And hopefully we do it sustainably, and hopefully we do it with agility. It's simple, isn't it?
Absolutely, totally agree. Thank you so much. Yeah, at the end, can I invite Professor Sam Kane, the president of APacCHRIE, to say a few words?
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Q. We really appreciate your participation in this webinar. Please support APacCHRIE and be affiliated with APacCHRIE. We do our best in order to step up our academia, society, and our world. Thank you very much for Professor Dimitrios Buhalis, your time and your valuable knowledge contribution. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Kim. Thank you again, Professor Buhalis. What very fruitful, almost 100 minutes we spent together. I'm sure all the audience, just like myself, enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, please, again, let's thanks Professor Buhalis for his time and the share of insights, and thank you all for joining this webinar. And I understand APacCHRIE will still organizing a series of different webinars on various topics. I'm sure we will hope to see you again in the future webinars organized
Dr.
by
Q,
yes.
April 20th, Professor Song's webinar. April 20.
That's 20. Wow, that's very close. Hope to see most, if not all of you then, right? Thank you for letting us know, Professor Kim.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Thanks for all the questions. I wish you all a lovely evening. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.